The glow of the late-night library lent everything a soft, golden haze. Amara Cole sat hunched over an open textbook on multivariable calculus, her dark curls falling over her eyes as she worked the problems under the reading lamp's halo. She loved this, solving equations while the rest of campus slept felt like a private world. "Thanks for staying late, Amara," Jason Reed murmured, stacking papers beside her at the long study table. He leaned in, voice low and urgent. "I'm totally lost on these theorems." She glanced up, blinking against the lamp's glare. His athletic frame, expensive hoodie, and easy smile masked a confidence that both intimidated and intrigued her. "It's no problem," she said, her voice quiet but steady. "Let's start with the triple integrals, see here?" As she guided his pen over the first problem, he traced her finger with his eyes, nodding as though every word she spoke shone with magic. "You're amazing at this," he whispered after she finished explaining. "I don't know what I'd do without you." In that moment, something warmed in Amara's chest. She'd tutored classmates before, but none had ever looked at her like that, as though she were the solution to every difficulty in their lives. Over the next few weeks, their study sessions became routine. At dawn, she'd unlock the library door, at dusk, she'd pack away her books. And there he was, sometimes bringing coffee, sometimes slipping her a candy bar, always with a grin. In between 2 a.m. practice tests and discussions about grades, he regaled her with stories, about the fraternity parties he hosted, the connections he'd make through his parents, the dream of starting his own company. "I really want you at my side if I ever do start a business," he confided one night as they packed their notebooks. His voice was low, conspiratorial. "You've got the brains, and the heart, to make it work." She laughed, heart fluttering. "We'll see," she teased, but inside, she wondered, could this be something real? The campus corridors, usually sterile and academic by day, felt electric when they walked together at night, her head buzzing with hope, his arm brushing hers as they headed toward the exit. He told her stories about his childhood, his fears of failure, the scholarship that had kept him afloat. And she, naturally reserved, found herself sharing secrets about her dreams of building fintech solutions for underbanked communities, her pride in being the first in her family to attend college. By the time the midterm results rolled around, Jason's grades soared. He hugged her in the hallway, tight enough that she swore she felt his heartbeat. "I couldn't have done it without you," he said, lips brushing her ear. She closed her eyes against the warmth of the moment. But somewhere in the back of her mind, a faint whisper wondered, is he really grateful, or is he grateful for what I can do for him? As Amara walked away, phone in pocket, a new message buzzed, "Can we meet Saturday? I want to celebrate, want you there." It was from Jason, but when she tapped to open it, it vanished. There was nothing but the empty chat screen, and a single ominous word flashed on her screen before disappearing forever, "Goodbye." Graduation morning dawned crisp and bright. Sunlight streamed through the dorm windows, illuminating stray confetti from last night's celebrations. Amara, in her cap and gown, applied the final swipe of mascara in the mirror, determined, poised, hopeful. Today was her day. Her phone lay on the dresser, face up. She checked it compulsively, no texts, no missed calls, no notifications from Jason. She shrugged off the unease. He'd said he had a big family brunch but promised he'd call later. At the convocation hall, families cheered as students filed in. Amara found Tasha Kim, her best friend and the only person who'd been by her side since freshman year. "You look like a Barbie doll," Tasha teased, wrapping her in a hug. "Ready to conquer the world?" Amara laughed, but her voice trembled. "I just wish Jason was here." Tasha's smile faded. "He'll come through. I know him, he'd never stand me up." They found seats near the front. The dean's speech was a blur, proud roars, diplomas handed out, caps flung in the air. When her name was called, Amara strode forward, chin high, her heart pounding like a drum. She accepted her diploma with a practiced smile and scanned the crowd, yearning for that familiar face. After the ceremony, graduates spilled onto the quad. Balloons bobbed in the breeze, cameras flashed. Families hugged, friends exchanged plans for the next chapter. Amara's eyes darted through the throng. Jason was nowhere to be seen. She dialed his number. Straight to voicemail. Again. No callback. Her chest tightened. Amara? Tasha's voice was gentle. You okay? She forced a laugh. Yeah, he said, family issues. He texted me, said he'd explain soon. But the lie tasted bitter. That afternoon, in her cap and gown, she walked the campus paths they'd traversed together, beneath the oak trees where they'd studied, past the steps of the science building where they'd shared secrets. Each landmark echoed with memories now tainted. By sunset, she was back in her dorm room, suitcase half-packed. She tapped his name in the chat. Nothing appeared. Then, with trembling fingers, she typed, Hey Jason, congrats on your graduation. Would love to celebrate together. Call me. She stared at the empty screen. No delivered, no read. Just blank. Tears pricked her eyes. In disbelief, she unlocked her phone settings and checked her blocked list. Jason Reed, blocked. Her breath caught. She tapped unblock, then called. Instantly cut off. As she dropped the phone onto the bed, a heartbeat later her phone chimed, a group chat invitation, Jason Reed, Dean's daughter, and half the campus elite. Title, Congrats 24. Let's party without the one who got annoying. Her name lit up at the bottom, Amara Cole. Amara's world cracked open that night. She stared at the group chat, disbelief and fury warring in her chest. He had done this. To her. Tasha flopped onto the bed beside her, phone in hand. This is sick, she muttered, scrolling through the banter, laughter emojis, mocking gifs. They actually made fun of you. Amara's throat was tight. I need to know why. The next morning, she donned a nondescript hoodie and slipped out of the dorm, hood up. She walked to the dean's house, quiet colonial architecture across campus, ivy crawling the brick. Rumor had it Jason had been courting the dean's daughter, Melanie, all semester. She waited until late afternoon, then snuck into the lobby during a faculty mixer, careful to stay unseen. Through the glass double doors, she watched Jason laugh with Melanie, his hand resting casually on her waist. Melanie tossed her hair, smiled sweetly. Behind them, the dean clapped Jason on the shoulder. A sense of nausea churned in Amara's gut. She hid behind a potted fern as he wrapped his arm around Melanie's shoulders, whispering something that made her laugh. He looked happy. Content. Like everything was exactly as he wanted. In a moment of rage-fueled clarity, Amara slipped into the room and grabbed the edge of the couch. Her voice was cold. Enjoying your big moment, Jason? He froze. Melanie spun around, eyes narrowing. Amara? What are you doing here? Silence thickened. Jason's smile faltered. He looked from Amara to Melanie, uncertainty flickering. I guess you never really ghosted me, Amara said, voice low. You just upgraded to someone better. Melanie's lip curled. Get out of here, Amara. But the damage was done. Word of the confrontation leaked instantly, classmates whispered in hallways, and by dinner, photos of her standing tall in that lobby had circulated online. That night, Amara lay awake, heart racing. She replayed their final exchange over and over, his stunned look, her shattering heart. As she reached to turn off her bedside lamp, her phone pinged. A DM from a number she didn't recognize. You don't know the half of it. Meet me tomorrow at 10 a.m. Leave your phone behind. 10 a.m. the next day, Amara arrived at the abandoned warehouse on the edge of town, her phone tucked into her back pocket, charging. The interior smelled of damp concrete and oil. A single figure waited under a flickering bulb. Amara Cole, a voice asked. She nodded. The man stepped forward, silver-haired, impeccably dressed. Mr. Delgado introduced himself as the CEO of Delgado Capital, retiring from the board of trustees but seeking one last protege. I've been watching you, he said, voice gravelly but kind. You're brilliant. You know fintech. You know people. You care. Amara bristled. Why me? Because you're not afraid, he replied. You were hurt, and you didn't crumble. You grew. Over the next few weeks, she met him daily, redesigning a microloan algorithm, debugging fraudulent transaction code, mapping expansion strategies into Southeast Asia. She devoured every lesson, every critique. Those nights, she worked until dawn in a rented studio apartment in a different city, juggling 3 graduate programs: economics, computer science, social entrepreneurship. She learned Mandarin on the side. Every saved naira went into her fledgling fintech startup, Aurora Finance. Tasha joined her on video calls, coordinating marketing and operations from halfway across the globe. Together, they sketched business plans on whiteboards, pitched to angel investors, and refined their platform's user interface until it shone. At first, the rejection stung. Investors balked at a young black woman without connections. But each no fueled her resolve. Every late-night coffee, every weekend hackathon, every extra credit assignment, it all added up. 2 years later, Delgado Capital led a seed round in Aurora Finance. Headlines and tech blogs praised Aurora's innovative microcredit app for rural entrepreneurs. Amara's face was nowhere to be found, her name replaced by Tasha's in all press materials. But behind the scenes, Amara's vision steered every decision: which markets to enter, how to tailor loan terms, how to integrate AI for risk assessment. And when Aurora's valuation doubled in 18 months, she smiled quietly in her empty office, her triumph unshared but deeply savored. One evening, as she checked her email, a single subject line stood out: important, acquisition proposal, from a well-known tech conglomerate, and it mentioned an entity she recognized, Jason Reed Technologies Incorporated. Amara's pulse quickened. Over steaming jasmine tea in her penthouse office, she opened the proposal. Jason Reed Technologies was in financial distress and seeking strategic investors. The board wanted a lifeline, one that would involve selling a controlling stake. She closed the document, fingers curling around the paper. A plan crystallized: why not acquire the stake herself? Not as Amara Cole, Whisper Quiet co-founder, but through a shell holding company, Aurora Ventures. She pitched the idea in the boardroom, faces turned to Tasha, expecting caution. But when Tasha realized the target, her eyes widened in delight. Mr. Delgado gave a reserved nod. By the end of the pitch, they had unanimous support. Over the next month, they orchestrated the takeover with surgical precision. Lawyers filed paperwork at dawn, press releases went out at dusk. Jason panicked when he heard whispers of a mystery bidder. He scanned investor decks, wondering which titan was swooping in. On the day of the shareholder vote, Jason arrived bright and early, brimming with desperation. He approached the podium to make one final appeal. Friends, colleagues, I founded this company on vision and innovation. I ask you to trust me one more time. Behind him, a velvet curtain parted. Tasha stepped forward in a crisp navy suit. I'm not here to ask for your trust, she announced. I'm here to inform you, Aurora Ventures now holds 52% of outstanding shares. Effective immediately, I'm the chair of the board, and our CEO is. She paused for dramatic effect. Amara emerged from the shadows, radiant in a tailored white blazer. The room went silent. Jason's face went pale. Amara, he whispered. She smiled, voice cool, effective immediately, I am your new CEO. As gasps echoed, Amara glanced at Jason's stunned expression. In that charged silence, she raised her hand, pressing unmute on a livestream feed that broadcasted her words to millions of followers. A notification buzzed on her phone, hundreds of thousands of tweets using #CEOGlowUp were already trending. Jason Reed awoke to the shrill ring of his phone at 5:12 a.m. He groaned, slapped at the buzzing device, and squinted at the screen. Investor call, 6 a.m. His gut twisted. Last month, his startup had been celebrated in blogs, now its burn rate outpaced any new capital. He showered quickly, tying his tie with trembling fingers. In the rideshare on the way to the sleek glass towers of Meridian Ventures, he scrolled through emails. After the seed round closed, every subsequent pitch had returned polite no-thanks messages. His CFO, Mark Liu, had resigned 2 days earlier. A terse memo, undeliverable promises. Best of luck. At 6 a.m. sharp, he joined the video call. His face was lit by the glow of his laptop, eyes heavy. 3 investors stared back, stone-faced and non-committal. Jason, began Patricia Owens, senior partner at Meridian, voice clipped. Your burn rate is twice the forecast. We're out. He forced a smile. I understand, but give me 1 more week. I have a pivot. Week isn't enough, she interrupted. We're reallocating funds. I'm sorry. The line went dead. He stared at the blank screen. Behind him, his apartment was strewn with empty coffee cups and whiteboard scribbles. He pressed his palms against his eyes. That afternoon, news outlets sniffed blood. Reed's startup on verge of collapse ran in TechPulse. Friends from the alumni WhatsApp group offered half-hearted condolences. Jason clicked through messages, some supportive, some mocking. The most galling, a meme overlaying his head on a sinking ship. At lunch, he met with his co-founder, Elena Vasquez, in a corner booth at the corner diner. Elena, he pleaded, voice low. We can salvage this. I just need you to front the next pitch. She shook her head, napkin crumpled in her hand. Jason, I already cleared my name. I resigned too. I can't. Heat crept up his neck. You're abandoning me? She sighed. I'm saving my career, not your ego. He stood abruptly, sending chair scraping. Fine, he spat, money rattling as his wallet hit the table. I'll find someone else. Outside, rain fell in sheets. He walked without umbrella to the empty office lobby, where the security guard recognized him and averted his gaze. On the wall hung the startup's mission statement, changing the world, 1 click at a time. Now it felt like a tombstone. That evening, Jason retreated to his penthouse. His phone pinged, an automated stock alert. His personal shares in Jason Reed Technologies had plunged below the IPO price. He buried his face in his hands, disbelief giving way to desperation. But a tiny spark ignited when he received a private message on LinkedIn. Perhaps you need a partner who knows how to run a company truly. The sender's profile read only, Aurora Ventures. Intrigue flickered. Was this his lifeline? Or the final blow? Jason tapped the message, scrolling to an attached PDF, and offered to acquire a controlling stake in Jason Reed Technologies. The asking price was shockingly reasonable. He leaned back, heart racing. Who is Aurora Ventures, really? Amara Cole sat in her minimalist penthouse office overlooking the city skyline. The acquisition proposal from Jason Reed Technologies lay open on her desktop, a public call for investors to save the floundering conglomerate. Tasha Kim lounged opposite her, legs crossed, scrolling through financial models on a tablet. Tasha looked up, eyebrows raised. So, you're really considering this? Amara tapped the screen. They're desperate. At 48% below market value, buying controlling shares through a shell company would be cheap and satisfying. Mr. Delgado leaned forward from his plush leather chair. It's audacious, he said, fingertips steepled. But you've built Aurora Finance from the ground up. You understand risk and timing. Amara inhaled. I don't want to just take over. I want to dethrone Jason personally and prove his so-called vision was built on my labor. Tasha's grin curved maliciously. Let's do it. Over the next 48 hours, they moved at lightning speed. Tasha set up Aurora Ventures LLC in a neighboring jurisdiction. Mr. Delgado tapped into offshore accounts. Lawyers drafted non-disclosure agreements. By dawn on Wednesday, Aurora Ventures had quietly acquired 15% of Jason Reed Technologies on the open market. Another tranche would be executed at week's end. Amara tracked each transaction by orders executed at 9:15 a.m., 11:22 a.m., and 2:47 p.m., just enough to avoid drawing suspicion. Each percentage point sent ripples through the stock price. Jason's email inbox flooded with notices: director vote approaching, quarterly meeting reminder, proxy statement enclosed. He barely had time to read. That Friday, Amara convened a clandestine meeting in the same warehouse where she first met Delgado. The overhead bulb flickered as she laid out the plan on a folding table. Finish acquiring shares up to 52% by close of business Wednesday. Mobilize allies, befriend key board members via dinners and discreet calls. Draft press release proclaiming Aurora Ventures' vision and request an emergency general meeting. Tasha drummed her fingers. Board members have egos. We'll need carrots or sticks. Mr. Delgado chuckled. We have both. As they departed, Amara paused in the shadowy doorway, the thrill of vengeance coursing through her veins. She dared to smile. On Sunday, Jason Reed awoke to a corporate fax slip on his coffee table: Aurora Ventures to call special shareholder meeting. Details inside. He read it twice, heart pounding, realizing for the first time that the girl he ghosted held the knife poised at his corporate throat. Jason entered the towering boardroom of Jason Reed Technologies with a forced swagger, briefcase in hand. The panoramic windows offered a view of the metropolis, but his gaze stayed fixed on his reflection in the polished mahogany table. Investors, lawyers, and executive staff populated plush chairs around him. He turned to Mr. Delgado, seated casually beside Tasha Kim, who wore an impeccably tailored suit. Morning, Jason said, attempting congeniality. You two look rested. Delgado's lips curled. Better than you, I'd wager. Jason swallowed. He cleared his throat and addressed the assembled board. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for convening on short notice. I want to outline my strategic plan to. But his voice caught as the double doors at the far end slid open. Two ushers escorted a woman in a crisp white blazer to the head of the table. Her posture was calm, authoritative. The board member beside Jason whispered, "Who invited the new advisor?" Tasha leaned forward. "Allow me to introduce Aurora Ventures' representative." She gave a subtle nod. Amara stepped into the light. Jason's eyes widened. He rose, mouth opening and closing like a fish. Amara? She touched the laptop in front of her, and the screen behind Jason flickered to life, a sleek slide titled Aurora Ventures, Vision for Sustainable Growth. Beneath it, her name glowed, Amara Cole, Board Advisor. Jason's face paled. A murmur rippled through the room. Board members shifted in their seats, exchanging glances. Amara's voice was serene. Good morning. I look forward to our discussion. Throughout the meeting, Jason tried to interject, to remind everyone of his founding role. But Amara countered every point with crisp data, revenue projections, cost-cutting plans, market share analytics. Her confidence flustered him. When he suggested a tech pivot, she responded with an alternative that shaved months off the rollout schedule. At one point, Jason blurted, "You're just an outsider." She smiled thinly. Until I owned 52% of shares, I was. Now I speak with the authority of the majority. As the vote on emergency measures began, Jason's allies faltered. One by one, hands raised to support Amara's proposals. He sank back in his chair, defeated. As the final tally confirmed Amara's control, the chair announced, effective immediately, Ms. Cole will lead the special committee. Jason stared at Amara across the gleaming table, his voice a whisper, How did you acquire that many shares? The screen behind Amara switched to a split montage. On the left, sepia-toned footage of Amara in college, late-night study sessions, hopeful smiles. On the right, Jason laughing with Melanie at the dean's party, then blocking Amara's number. The contrast elicited gasps in the boardroom. As murmurs grew, Amara narrated, In 2015, I trusted someone I thought cared for me. I offered my time, my intellect, my heart, and he discarded me. Jason's jaw clenched. Sweat gleamed on his forehead under the conference lights. He opened his mouth to protest, but Amara continued. Today, that same person underestimated the power of silence and the resilience of someone he wounded. The montage shifted to present-day headlines scrolling down the screen. Hashtag ghosted to glory. Amara Cole, tech CEO, exposes ex on global stage. CEO revenge trends worldwide. Phones buzzed in pockets. Board members glanced furtively at their devices. Mark Taylor, the legal counsel, leaned forward. Ms. Cole, are you suggesting this takeover was personal? She paused, gaze steady. Business is personal when your startup ends up being an instrument of someone else's ambition instead of a shared vision. Silence fell. Jason's face burned with humiliation. He clenched his fists under the table, recalling the sting of her graduation day betrayal, the public mocking, the green of envy that had driven so many of his actions. Behind him, the board chair cleared her throat. Do we have further discussion? The memory of those past chapters, the laughter in sepia, the empty messages, hung in the air like a thick fog. Jason realized the full extent of his undoing, not just losing control of his company, but seeing the woman he hurt orchestrate his downfall. As a board member raised her hand to second a motion to formalize Amara's appointment as interim CEO, Jason's phone vibrated. A text from an unknown number. This isn't over. You'll pay for this, one way or another. He stared at the screen, pulse hammering. 2 days later, the company hosted a high-profile press event to announce the new leadership. The grand ballroom of the city's luxury hotel was packed with reporters, cameras, and influencers. A massive banner read, Jason Reed Technologies, a new chapter. Jason stood beside Amara on stage, forced smiles plastered on both their faces. Flashbulbs popped. Amara wore a tailored emerald dress, hair sleek, radiating confidence. Jason's suit looked several sizes too big, the weight of failure sitting on his shoulders. The CEO seat was empty, symbolically reserved for Amara. A single black leather chair awaited at center stage. Jason tapped his microphone. Thank you all for coming. Today marks a new era for our company, one built on innovation and inclusion. He nodded at Amara. She stepped forward, clearing her throat. When I first joined this board, she began, I was an outsider. Today, I stand before you not just as a leader but as someone who believes in the power of second chances. She paused, locking eyes with Jason. Especially when those chances were never offered. The audience chuckled, sensing the subtext. Cameras zoomed in on Jason's puckered mouth. Amara continued, our first order of business is a full audit, transparency is our foundation. Next, we invest in underrepresented founders, giving back to communities that nurtured my growth. Applause erupted. Jason tried to clap too, but his slow, mechanical movements betrayed his unease. After the event, the press flocked around Amara. She fielded questions gracefully. Meanwhile, Jason retreated to a side corridor, phone pressed to his ear. Mark, he hissed into the line. Get me everything on Aurora Ventures. I need dirt. Anything. Mark's response was muffled, it's all sealed through offshore trusts. You don't have leverage. Jason's jaw tightened. He pinched the bridge of his nose, breathing deeply. Behind him, Amara emerged, radiant in the afterglow of the event. He squared his shoulders. Congratulations, he said, voice thin. She inclined her head. Thank you. As she turned to leave, he caught her arm. Time slowed. She looked back, expectant. He whispered, this isn't over. She smiled, no warmth, only steel. It already is. As she walked away, cameras caught her slight smirk. A reporter shouted, what's next for you, CEO Cole? She paused, hand on the doorframe, and answered, watch me build an empire. The grand auditorium trembled with applause as the MC's voice boomed through the speakers, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our esteemed advisors. Jason Reed stood at the podium in his navy blue suit, smiling broadly as the crowd's cheers washed over him. Behind him, a massive LED screen displayed highlights of his entrepreneurial journey, clips of ribbon cuttings, startup milestones, and glowing news headlines. Jason tapped the microphone. "Thank you, all of you, for believing in my vision since day one. It's been an incredible ride." His eyes flicked to the wings. He raised his hand in dramatic flourish. "And now, I have the honor of introducing the person who will guide us into our next era of innovation." With a flourish, he gestured toward the side stage. A spotlight hit Amara Cole as she strode forward in a sharp white blazer, her posture regal, dark curls pulled back to frame a calm, inscrutable face. The audience erupted into surprised murmurs. Jason clasped his hands together, throat bobbing in fake reverence. "Please welcome our new advisor, Amara Cole." His voice quivered slightly with excitement. Amara cleared her throat. The applause sputtered and died when she raised a single finger. "Thank you," she said, voice cool but perfectly audible. "But I'm not here as your advisor." A beat of silence. Jason's smile crumbled. He opened his mouth, but no words came. She continued, softer now, effective today, "I am the CEO of Jason Reed Technologies." Gasps filled the auditorium. Cameras clicked frantically. Jason's face blanched as the screen behind her switched to bold text, Amara Cole, Chief Executive Officer, alongside the company's soaring stock ticker. A reporter in the front row blurted, "Mr. Reed, any comment?" He swallowed. I must have been misinformed." His voice cracked under the spotlight. Amara turned back to the audience. "Under my leadership, we will instill transparency, integrity, and innovation at every level." "Thank you." She bowed slightly and swept off the stage. Jason stood frozen until the MC hustled him off to conclude the event, murmuring apologies into the mic. Behind the curtain, Jason's teammate Emily Chin touched his arm. "Jason, I'm so sorry." He shook her off roughly. "Save it." His jaw clenched. As the crowd dispersed, he caught sight of Tasha Kim, leaning against a sidewall with a small, satisfied smile. In the cavernous backstage hallway, he finally found a private moment. He rammed his fist into the drywall. Pain shot through his knuckles, but he hardly noticed. His phone buzzed, dozens of notifications. The official stream had catapulted across social media. He unlocked his phone to a headline from TechPulse, ghosted to CEO, how Amara Cole just humiliated her ex on global stage. Beneath it, a single notification blinked, Amara Cole just went live, CEO AMA in 5 minutes. Within seconds, platforms exploded. A 10-second clip of Amara's announcement circulated with the caption #CEORevenge, and views skyrocketed into the millions. Phones vibrated incessantly. Jason slammed his palm on the dressing room mirror as he watched the replay, his stunned, sheepish grin morphing into horror. In the control room, social media analysts leaned over dashboards. "Spike in engagement off the charts," whispered one tech specialist. "Predicted retweets, 2 million in the next hour." Amara stood before a ring light at her sleek home studio, headphones on, preparing for her live AMA. Tasha perched beside her laptop, scrolling comments. "They're loving it," Tasha grinned. "Viewers are calling it the most satisfying clapback ever." Amara exhaled. "Good. Let them see what justice looks like." She pressed start broadcast. "Hello, everyone," she greeted, her tone warm. "Welcome to the first official CEO AMA for Jason Reed Technologies. Yes, I'm Amara Cole, and yes, that was real." The chat exploded, hearts, fire emojis, messages flooding in. Back at the company's headquarters, journalists crowded the lobby. One shouted, "Ma'am, will you accept a public apology from Mr. Reed?" Another, "How do you plan to handle shareholder pressure?" Amara's PR chief, Dion Okoye, guided her through a short press line. "Stick to the talking points," he advised in a low voice. She nodded, fielding each question with poise. Meanwhile, Jason's penthouse was in disarray. He paced the living room, designer couch cushions askew, half-empty wine glass in hand. His phone's home screen wallpaper showed a younger Amara laughing beside him. He stared at it, a cocktail of guilt and fury churning in his gut. His assistant, Carla, peeked in. "Sir, we've got calls from every major outlet." Jason crumpled onto the couch. "Set up a meeting with the board. Now." In Amara's livestream, she addressed the company's new direction, building community-driven products, prioritizing ethics, and implementing a whistleblower hotline. The viewer count hit 5 million. "Questions?" she invited. One comment stood out, posted by a verified user. "Was this personal revenge or good business?" Amara paused, looked directly into the camera. "Why not both?" The chat erupted in applause emojis. Tasha leaned forward. "You should end on A." Amara smiled. "Good idea." She tapped her glass of water, then tilted it slightly as if about to drink. "Stay tuned, there's more coming." As she signed off, her phone dinged with a private text, "Meet me tonight. I have proof you might regret using." The sender ID was unknown. Monday morning dawned cold and gray over the high-rise headquarters. Employees arrived in hushed clusters, scrutinizing the front desk's new sign, "Welcome to the Amara Cole era." Nervous whispers floated through the lobby. In the executive suite, Amara presided over her first all-hands meeting. The sprawling conference room remained half-empty. Many senior managers had opted to wait and see. Jason sat in the back row, arms folded, face ashen. Amara took the podium. "Today, we root out corruption and inefficiency. We start clean." She outlined a 3-step integrity initiative, an anonymous ethics hotline, third-party audits of all departments, and immediate suspension of anyone under fraud investigation. Murmurs of approval swelled. Tasha handed out sealed envelopes. "These contain your new performance metrics," she told the assembled executives. "Open them now." The room fell silent as men and women checked their metrics. Some smiled, others paled. Across the table, Daniel Whitman, Chief Compliance Officer, stared at his envelope. His face drained of color. Tasha caught his eye. A nod, and 2 security personnel escorted him quietly out. Jason dared to speak. "Amara, is this necessary?" She met his gaze. "If it were up to me, you'd be first." A collective gasp rose. Jason's knuckles whitened. Amara pivoted to the rest of the staff. "I promise fairness, transparency, and respect. But I will not tolerate malfeasance." After the meeting, the corridor buzzed with speculation. Junior staffers thanked Amara for her courage. A group of interns hovered near her office, offering congratulations. In the Ethics Hotline Center, calls poured in, allegations of expense account manipulation, insider trading, nepotism. Within hours, more envelopes circulated, this time marked suspension pending review. The purge moved through middle management like wildfire. By late afternoon, the Human Resources office overflowed. Half a dozen executives had packed up their desks, some left quietly, others cursed under their breath. One knocked on Amara's door, Veronica Dlamini, head of marketing, tears glistening. "Please," Veronica whispered. "I had no idea they were cooking the books." Amara's expression softened. "You did the right thing by coming forward. We'll handle this." But the day's drama was only a prelude. As the sun set, Jason received an email from the HR director. "Your position is under review. Please await further instructions." Jason stared at the screen, heart pounding. Then, in the silence of his empty office, a printed memo slipped under the door, effective immediately, "You are suspended without pay." Under the dim glow of the cityscape below, Jason waited in a nondescript cafe for Amara. Steam curled from his coffee cup as he rehearsed apologies in his head. When she arrived, elegant in a charcoal coat, expression unreadable, he stood. "Amara, thank you for meeting me." His voice cracked with sincerity. She slid into the seat across from him, purse on her lap. "This had better be good." He swallowed. "I was wrong. I hurt you. Her lips curled in a bitter smile. "You used me. You ghosted me. And then you had the nerve to invite me to save your company?" He reached across the table. "I still care about you. Maybe more now." His eyes glistened. "I'm truly sorry." A barista bumped their table, spilling a few droplets. Amara tensed, but from the corner of her eye, she saw Tasha slip into the cafe, hovering near the entrance. Jason leaned closer. "Please, give me another chance." Amara folded her arms. "Why now? Why not before?" He exhaled, pain etched on his face. "I thought success would make me happy. But seeing you thrive, well, it shows me my mistakes." For a moment, the night air between them crackled with unreconciled history. Amara's eyes softened as she remembered the starry nights in the library, the earnest laughter. But just as she opened her mouth, Tasha stepped forward, voice clipped. "Amara, your driver's here." Jason flinched. "I can fight for you." Amara stood. "This isn't about me." She turned to Jason, voice firm. "I appreciate the apology. But forgiveness isn't my goal." Confusion and hurt clouded his face. "Then what do you want?" She paused, meeting his gaze steadily. "I want integrity. You either earn respect or step aside." As she walked away, Jason shouted, "Amara, wait!" But she didn't turn back. In the fading twilight, Jason slumped against the cafe's glass wall. His phone buzzed, a text from unknown reading, "Nice apology. But I think the world should hear it too." The message attached an audio file icon, Jason_read_apology_tape.mp3. Monday's sunrise brought a firestorm. Overnight, the leaked recording of Jason's cafe apology had gone viral. Listeners heard him admit faults, beg for Amara's forgiveness, and refer to exploiting Amara's brilliance as a means to an end. Headlines screamed, "CEO confession, I used her for grades, and growth." In the company lobby, employees crowded around screens showing the clip. Some shook their heads, others laughed in disbelief. Amara watched calmly from her glass office as notifications pinged relentlessly. She gathered her leadership team, Tasha, Mr. Delgado, Dion, and HR Director Chikobi. On the conference room's monitor, the audio waveform pulsed. Dion clicked play. Jason's voice, raw and contrite, filled the room. A hush. Then the final line, "I was willing to sacrifice her dignity for my ambition." Tasha's jaw clenched. Mr. Delgado's eyes narrowed. Chike rubbed his temples. Amara stood. Effective immediately, Jason Reed is terminated for breach of trust and malicious intent. The news release went out within minutes. Press helicopters hovered above the building as Amara stepped onto a makeshift podium on the front plaza. Flashbulbs popped. A microphone squealed to life. "Today, we close a painful chapter," she announced. "This company will henceforth stand for integrity, respect, and empowerment." She gestured to the crowd. "Thank you for your support." Cameras zoomed on Jason's mansion that evening, empty driveway, porch light blazing. Inside, he replayed the clip, stunned into silence. His phone dinged, another text from unknown, "Game over? Or just beginning?" As night deepened, Amara sat at her desk, the city lights glittering like distant stars. She opened an email titled "Press Conference Footage," a link to a recorded interview with her, speaking to legacy and vision. She smiled, closing the lid. But on her screen, a new notification flashed, "System alert, unauthorized access detected." In the green glow of her command center, alarms blinked. Someone was trying to breach Aurora Ventures servers. Jason Reed paced the marble-floored corridor outside the emergency boardroom, his polished shoes clicking anxiously against the tile. Through the frosted glass, he could see Amara Cole seated at the head of a long conference table, flanked by Tasha and Mr. Delgado. On the table lay thick packets labeled proxy materials and voting ballots. Jason, muttering, "This can't be happening. I founded this place." He pushed open the door to join the 20 or so shareholders already seated, venture capitalists, angel investors, and a sprinkling of well-known tech journalists. The atmosphere crackled with anticipation. Amara stood as he entered. "Amara, Cooley, thank you all for coming. Today's vote will determine the future direction of Jason Reed Technologies." Jason swallowed, then cleared his throat. "Amara, I'd like to speak before the vote." Amara, nodding of course. "Please." Jason strode to the podium, heart hammering. "Ladies and gentlemen, I understand Ms. Cole has won your favor, but I ask you to reconsider. Under my leadership, we've built this company from scratch. We have patented technologies in AI-driven logistics. I'm asking for one more chance." A murmur rippled through the room. Tasha exchanged a knowing glance with Delgado. Amara raised her hand. "Amara, shareholders, before we vote, I want to highlight 2 facts." She clicked her remote, the screen lit up behind her. First, in the last quarter, employee morale under Mr. Reed's leadership dropped by 40%. We have retention metrics to prove it. Second, since I assumed interim control, our stock has rebounded 18%, and we're projected to break even by Q4. She passed out printed summaries. Journalists scribbled notes furiously. Jason's face paled. "Board member, clearing throat, let's proceed with the vote." Each shareholder dipped a ballot into the transparent box. The tension in the air was palpable. As the last ballot slid in, Amara motioned for the tally. 2 minutes later, the vote count appeared on screen, 89% in favor of Amara Cole as permanent CEO. Polite applause rose around the table. Jason sank into a chair at the back, sweat beading on his forehead. A few sympathetic investors patted him on the shoulder. As the meeting adjourned, Amara approached Jason with a single folder. "Sign this," she said, laying out a formal board resignation document. He stared at the pen she offered, hands trembling, and realized his last chance to control his destiny was slipping through his fingers. Jason picked up the pen, desperation etching his features. He stared at the signature line, "I, Jason Reed, hereby resign from all positions." His mind raced back to the day he launched the company, a dream born in a cramped dorm room. Could he really relinquish it all? "Jason," voice breaking, "please, is there no way to amend this?" Amara's gaze softened, but her tone remained firm. "You burned every bridge with your actions. Trust isn't restorable." He exhaled and signed. As the pen clicked, a muffled gasp spread across the emptied boardroom. Tasha quietly collected the signed document. Later that afternoon, Amara strode through the open plan office. Employees lined the aisles, whispering. Jessica, Jason's former executive assistant, watched him slump at a desk, boxes of belongings piled at his feet. Amara, addressing the staff team, "As of today, Jason Reed is no longer with the company. We move forward together, stronger, united, and with a renewed sense of purpose." A hush fell, then applause broke out. Some staffers cheered, others wiped tears. Amara raised her hand. "Amara, thank you. Now let's get back to work." Down the hall, Jason left the building for the last time. The revolving doors spun behind him, symbolically sealing his exit. Reporters swarmed, microphones thrust forward. "Reporter, Mr. Reed, do you regret how things turned out?" Jason paused, then turned away, walking into the late afternoon glare. He slid into a waiting car, jaw clenched, thoughts tumbling. As the car pulled away, a text from an unknown number lit up his phone, "Watch your back. You think losing the company is bad? Wait until you see what's next. The luxury penthouse felt empty as Jason entered, its floor-to-ceiling windows revealing the sprawling city below. He tossed his keys on the glass coffee table, the crash echoing. Half-drunk bottles of whiskey lined the sideboard. He sank onto the sofa, remote in hand, flicking through news clips, analysts praising Amara, pundits forecasting the company's bright future under her helm. His own face stared back at him from archived interviews. An incoming video call icon glowed, investors_Q and A. He silenced it. Then another, family_group. He ignored it too. He grabbed a bottle, poured a shot, and swallowed it in one gulp. The burn in his throat blurred his vision. He staggered to the kitchen, slamming cabinets. Jason, angry whisper, you took it all. Every last bit. In the darkness, his phone pinged again, game on. Attached, a spreadsheet titled Legal Exposure, J. Reed Technologies. The file outlined potential lawsuits for breach of fiduciary duty, insider trading, and wrongful termination. He stared at the list, pulse racing. Panic set in. His empire was gone, and now his personal wealth and reputation were at stake. He threw his phone across the room, it skidded under the sofa. As he sank to the floor, sirens wailed from outside, red and blue lights skittering across his windows. Something unspoken but terrifying was coming. 2 weeks later, Amara stood on a dais at the inaugural Aurora Women in Tech Summit, the city's convention center packed with aspiring entrepreneurs. She wore a sleek navy suit, behind her, a banner proclaimed, Empower. Elevate. Excel. She glanced at the audience, hundreds of hopeful faces, young women clutching notebooks. She smiled, remembering her own journey from heartbreak to boardroom triumph. Amara, into the mic when they ghosted me, I built in silence. Today, I stand before you not as a victim, but as living proof that adversity can ignite greatness. The crowd erupted in applause. Later, on a panel stage, she answered questions about fundraising, leadership, and resilience. Audience member, what was your biggest lesson? Amara, never let someone else's betrayal define your potential. Define it yourself. Meanwhile, Jason's name trended, but with negative connotations. His legal team sent him documents, subpoenas, depositions, potential criminal inquiries. He holed up in a rented office, drafting a desperate email to Amara. Jason, typing Amara, please. I need your help. We're in trouble. He deleted it. Pride warred with desperation. Back at headquarters, Amara signed off a donation to a scholarship fund at her alma mater. Tasha stared at the check. Naming it after the school that nearly broke you? Amara nodded. Let them reap what they sowed. As she left the office, her assistant handed her a press clipping, Jason Reed arrested in fraud investigation. Amara paused, heart steady, knowing that true justice sometimes takes its time. Under bright lights on the TED stage, Amara walked to center, greeted by a standing ovation. The backdrop read, Silent Strength, from Ghosted to Global CEO. A single red circle carpet awaited her. She paused, surveying the audience of engineers, investors, students, and even a few familiar faces from Jason Reed Technologies. She tapped the mic. Amara, smiling 10 years ago, someone erased me from his life. But in that silence, I found my voice. She recounted key moments, the library nights, the ghosting, the secret mentorship with Mr. Delgado, the rise of Aurora Finance, and the boardroom showdown. Each anecdote drew cheers and empathetic murmurs. She clicked her remote, the large screen lit with photos, her and Tasha in a shared apartment, code-filled whiteboards, the Harvest Festival where she first pitched to investors. Then came the image from that fateful graduation day, a solitary figure in cap and gown scanning the crowd. Amara, that moment felt like the end. But every end carries a seed of beginning. She shared data, Aurora's impact in microloans, the number of scholarships funded, and a live video feed of girls in remote villages receiving smartphones to access her app. The audience leaned forward. A spotlight found her, her face resolute. Amara, they ghosted me. I built an empire in the silence. Today, I stand here not just as a CEO, but as proof that the person you discard today could be the one who defines tomorrow. A roar of applause erupted, filling the hall. Cameras flashed. In the back row, Jason sat alone, head bowed, having sneaked in. His eyes glistened, regret, wonder, and perhaps a glimmer of hope. As Amara took her final bow, the TED host joined her on stage. Host, Amara Cole, everyone. She waved, heart full. Outside, the world buzzed, articles, tweets, and live streams capturing her words. Epilogue, in a quiet office, Amara closed her journal. Above her desk hung a framed quote, "Silence is not emptiness, it is a canvas for your next move." She smiled, ready for whatever came next. The end.